Into the ballgame as Paul McKeskey has become kind of a cult hero in Milwaukee, Tommy.
Fred Roberts hits McKeskey at the other end.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of We Got Next. I'm Ricky Hampton with the big fella Paul McKeskey coming to you on a Monday evening. Hope everybody had a great weekend. More time is flying by. We're heading into July tomorrow. But first and foremost, we got a new big man in the family, Hunter.
Got big feet, big hands.
Hunter McKeskey, the next big guy heading into the league. He hadn't gotten a call yet, has he? Nobody's tried to sign him already.
Yeah, he's got a couple recruiting letters from college, but that's it so far. He's our first grandchild. Michael and Caitlin. It was a little scary there for a minute, but everything turned out great. And man, you know what I'm talking about. He's like a perfect child.
But I saw some beautiful pictures of you with Hunter Mall. And people have this, you were a physical, tough basketball player in the NBA, man, but you were just like a little puppy with that little baby boy in your arms.
Yeah, but even back then, I was a teddy bear off the court, too.
Yeah, but and that ain't how we remember you guys.
I know, because you only saw me on the court.
Absolutely. And, man, everybody is checking in. Welcome. We want to hear your questions and comments. I know people are interested in what's going on. Free agency tipped off today, and we're going to get into a lot of that. And Hunter is the MVP of the show tonight. hey, but Mo, before we get to free agency, let's look back one last time at the finals. Have you thought about, we talked about it last week, anything else about that series stands out in your mind?
No, well, the one thing that stands out is, we've been through Batman and Robins, we've been through the Big Three, we've been through whatever, and both teams in the finals were very deep and very well-rounded teams. They had well-rounded rosters. Every position was covered to some point. Indiana could have used a bigger center in the rotation, just like OKC had, but no real. It's weird. Halliburton and Siakam are all-stars and really great players, but they're not superstars. Shea Alexander is the MVP of the league, but a lot of us don't think of him as a superstar yet. I don't know why, because he does about everything, but he's just not there yet. So it kind of proves to teams, and both rosters are middle of the road salary-wise. They're not the highest paid teams. They're middle of the road. So it should give a groundwork and a game plan for other teams that can get to the NBA Finals, actually win, if they are smart, signing the right people in the right spots, and, and money-wise, and you can get there. You don't have to have the superstar. That's the most biggest take I've taken from those finals this year.
Now, you know how these front offices work. You know how they think. You've been inside those places. It's supposed to be a copycat league. Do you think people are going to look at this and say, hey, maybe we could do something like this?
Well, I would look at a lot of teams are, the Houston Rockets are kind of following that game plan. Now they got KD, but he's later in his career. He's not the superstar he once was. Great scorer, one of the best scorers in the league, but they're kind of looking that way. And a lot of other teams, don't have options to do that. I would also look at the San Antonio Spurs, who are building with young players. They drafted a great point guard. They have Wemby. They have Hazel. They have the makings, and they're pretty close to the bottom of team salaries in the league. So, I think there is, the follow the leader kind of thing in the NBA, like there always has been.
Okay, and everybody out there, welcome once again. Definitely want to hear your questions and comments. I just saw that Steve just is reporting Brooke Lopez to the Clippers. That's exactly right. The signings are coming in hot and heavy now. Luke Kennard seems like he's going to be heading to Atlanta. Nicole Alexander Walker, according to one report in The Athletic, is headed to Atlanta on a 4-year, $62 million deal. And we're going to be seeing these next few days, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time or 6 o'clock, I think, whatever, was when, a lot of these guys could become free agents. And, there was a feeding frenzy and, Brooke Lopez is moving on to the Clippers. That's a great addition for the Clippers. And actually, Portis isn't even signed yet, I don't think. I think there's a player option or team option or something. So,
He's agreed to stay there, I believe.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, right. He hasn't said anything yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard lately that Giannis might be on the market now. So, I mean, look what the Boston Celtics, who won a championship way back a year ago, a whole year ago, they won the championship, and then Tatum pops his Achilles, and now they trade Holiday, they trade Porzingis. Luke Cornett leaves. He goes to San Antonio to be Wemby's backup. So, the Bucks are in that same situation, and, they're going to have to make some moves. And I think, we talked about Lakers, Golden State, trying to think maybe one other team, Phoenix, that all needed big players. Well, with Lopez signing with the Clippers, now he's gone. Clint Capella just signed with the Houston Rockets. He's going back to the Houston Rockets. One of the biggest guys out there now that's looking at a buyout is Ayton from Portland. I think it was the first or second pick in the draft or something. Yeah. And he's just he walled around a little bit in Phoenix, had okay year. Then he went up to Portland, kind of disappeared. He's a legitimate big that I hear the Lakers are really on top of that. And he'll have to take less money. But that would, he could really shore up a Lakers team. And then I hear Al Horford, the old man, is looking at the Golden State Warriors. And that would be a good fit. A legitimate big that's been there before.
And Steve, you're absolutely right. Portis did sign to stay in Milwaukee, 3 years, $44 million. Paul, an interesting trade to me is Denver is moving on from Michael Porter. They sent Michael Porter Jr. to the Nets for Cam Johnson, and also a first-round pick to the Nets for Cam Johnson.
I mean, that's a money dump, I think, but really, Denver won a championship way back 2 years ago, right? Way back 2 years ago, right? And they're pretty much out of the running now. I mean, we talked how they don't have any depth. They don't have any bench. They got away with it 2 years ago, and I think surprised people, but didn't last year. But I mean, so they have Murray, Brown, who's come along really well, Aaron Gordon, and the Joker, and now Cam Johnson. And then who? Bruce Bowen. Westbrook's a free agent. They don't have a bench. They have like 6 players. That's so crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, now it's time to go get them. I mean, free agency is here. We want to hear your questions and comments, your thoughts on what you think your team may need.
Yeah, I would say, like, when I'm looking at the free agent signings that was just going on an hour ago and it was going crazy, The things that stood out to me was Clint Capella signing with Houston. They need a center, and now they're looking good in the West. Luke Cornett signing with San Antonio. Lopez with the Clippers. The next signing, I think it's already done. D'Angelo Russell to the Dallas Mavericks.
Yep.
And that's an inexpensive stopgap till Kyrie Irving gets healthy. And that's a big pickup. I don't trust Russell. I didn't like him with the Lakers. I think plays great and then bad and then great and then bad. But for a stopgap till Kyrie gets back, that move right there could help win the West for Dallas. Dallas is looking as strong as anybody out here, including OKC. So I think that was a big, signing. And then there's so many people that re-signed, right? Like Randall re-signed, Naz Reid re-signed with Minnesota. Yeah, a lot of them are re-signing, and that means that the collective bargaining agreement is actually working to that extent because to re-sign players, your team can pay you more than any other team can. Sometimes that's a few million, sometimes it's 10 or 20 million. And that makes people re-sign because money speaks volumes. And I think it shows that the collective bargaining agreement is working that way.
Woodage, what's happening, brother? Just wondering if the Bulls will do something big this offseason, at least attempt something big, but they just traded Alonzo Ball for a cup of coffee, I believe.
Yeah. And who'd they trade him to? I can't.
I'm looking it up now. Alonzo Ball trade. It was not looked upon very well in the greater Chicagoland. Ball.
Yeah, but the problem with Ball is he hasn't really played. What's that?
They traded Alonzo Ball to the Cavaliers.
Yeah, I think that'll help the Cavs because they need to make a move. Yeah, so that's a good move for them. And the problem with Ball is, he's been hurt for the last 2 years. And what's the best ability? Say it with me. Availability. Just ask anybody. So if you're not available, you can't help anybody. But the Cavs are one of the groups in the East because of what happened with Tatum, Lillard, and Halliburton. The East, all these teams like the Cavs and Orlando and New York Knicks are seeing a window here where they can win the East now with how shaky it is with all those injuries. And, the favorites last year, the favorites were the Cavs and Boston. And Boston, Keely's away from, finishing it up. But all these other teams are sitting there going, a lot of times in the draft room and you're doing your strategy before, what do we want to do next year? Do we want to rebuild? Do we want to retool? Do we want to reinforce what we have? Or do we want to go for the future? And, those are totally different ways to go. And, now you're sitting there going, you know what? If I'm Orlando or somebody or the Cavs, maybe it's time to make something. We just can't get there. Maybe we're going to get younger and do this and do that. But now you're going, hey, maybe a couple tweaks right now, a couple additions, and we can win the East and maybe win the whole thing.
Hey, I look at a team like Philly, who they were terrible last year. Joe Harley played. If he comes back, and that's a big if, Mo, and he's healthy, I mean, they're in the mix in the East.
Sure. I mean, they're not as deep as some teams, but you have Maxey, who's one of the best young, talented guards there is. He's pretty close to Shea Alexander, right? I mean, he plays defense, he passes, he shoots. They have George Oubre. They had the third pick in the draft, VJ Edgercombe, who can fit in, and he's ready to play right now. And then Embiid, if he's healthy, they could be right in the mix and a couple roster spots away from making a run at the East.
Yeah, absolutely. On that with with the
But I mean, if I'm the New York Knicks, who were just a step away from the finals, right? So, but I got Brunson, I got Hart, I got Bridges, I got Towns, I got Robinson, Anunoby, McBride. Maybe I'm a wing shooter or somebody away from getting back to the East Finals and maybe the NBA Finals. You know, that's something that's happening. And then Orlando, who had a good year last year, but Boncaro was hurt a lot of the year. But they made a trade and got Bain, who's a big time scoring guard, Suggs, Wagner, Boncaro, Jonathan Isaac, and I like their draft pick. Maybe I'm a little leaning towards that way, but they got Richardson. Uh,
Jason Richardson from
Jason Richardson's son, who played for Michigan State and can shoot the crap out of the ball.
yeah.
So Orlando's going to make some noise too.
Yeah, and here in Detroit, Mo, everybody was just thrilled with the season the Pistons had. Took the Knicks, played them tough, lost in 6. Things were going well, and then the other day, it looked at Malik Beasley was going to resign probably today, but he is now involved in a federal investigation pertaining to gambling, and it was probably going to be about 3 years, $45 million. So they're going to put that aside now. As a team, what do? Do they wait? You can't wait, I guess.
Well, you have to. You got to reassess. I don't know. See, situations like that, NBA teams can get info that other people can't get. So they can find out what this investigation is. It's federal, so it makes it a little harder. But they need to find out how dangerous this is, because, it could blow up his career. Or it could just be some BS that's going on that maybe his name was mentioned in some, phone tap or something, and maybe he's really not involved, but we won't know that for a while. So it kind of puts the Pistons. They got Levert, right? So
Yes,
they picked up something, and I think they re-signed their big guy Reed, right? I think.
Yeah, re-signed
Yeah.
Reed and Levert. Hey,
Yeah.
with the Pistons notice that this broke a couple of days ago. Well, the Pistons have already known about this.
They probably heard something, but they didn't know how serious. I mean, if it was more local, then it would be.
They have stat investigators and things like that.
The league NBA has investigators. All the teams have investigators. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they monitor every team on a whole league monitors all social media from every player in the league and every coach in the league, and and they also have investigators that can put boots on the ground wherever they want if they want to get more information. Now, because it's a federal offense, I think that makes it a little harder. If it was local, they would have known everything. They would have known everything about it. But because it's federal, it's a little different. But puts them in a hard. Do you wait? Do you just wait it out, or do you move on? That's a decision that those people in that room are going to have to make, and make it pretty soon, because free agency just opened up a few hours ago. It's going crazy. Trades are going crazy. Summer league's about a week or so away here in Las Vegas. You can't just hang around and hope for the best.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting the way what they decide on doing, because they turned their program around, and the new coach is great, and they made a great run last year. But something like this can derail everything that you put your heart and soul in.
Yeah. Hey, Mo, here's one. Kevin Looney is headed to the Pelicans on a 2-year, $16 million deal. So he's out at Golden State. And Bruce Brown, I think we may have mentioned that, is back in Denver.
Yeah, I think the Looney deal, because he had some good games this year, I think that tells me that they're gonna keep Kuminga. That tells me that they're probably gonna re-sign him. or extend him, because if not, they would have kept Looney and tried to do something with Kuminga. That's what it tells me.
Man, the Rockets are just dealing, Mo. Dorian Finney-Smith is headed to Houston. He got a 4-year, $53 million deal. I mean, he's a good player, Paul, but $4 million, 53.
That's the way it is, man. I mean,
I'm not saying he's not a good player.
no, but there's guys that I never heard of that are making that money, but that's just the way the league is. I mean, you want something to blow your mind, money wise. Okay, here it is. I just saw this today. Cooper Flag, right? Cooper Flag,
Yeah,
who made $20 million in NIL money last year at Duke. That guy.
yeah.
Well, his rookie contract is 3 years, $62 million. That's what his rookie contract is.
Wow.
Then if after that rookie contract, if he signs the Supermax, that would be for a 4-year, $359 million contract, and he would only be 22. And then the next one, when the next Supermax comes up, that's in 34 or 38. He could sign a 4-year deal for $509 million, which totals out at $930 million, and he would be 31 years old.
Wow.
And you got to double that, because he's going to make as much or more than his salary and sponsors. So you're looking at a possible $2 billion by the time you're 31 years old.
My goodness, man. The money that is being made in that league is just tremendous. And you know why, Mo? I mean, it's a worldwide game now. People watch the NBA from all over the world.
Well, there's
come all over the world to play too.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's almost 200 non-American players, or 250 or something like that. And there's NBA Africa. They have a league where some of the players are getting drafted out of there now. NBA is going to go into Europe. They're going to do a Euro NBA, and there's leagues all. I mean, China, Japan, any country you can think of has a league at different levels, let alone Italy and Russia and Spain and all this stuff. So, but the NBA is the best league. So that's what people watch. So, I remember I did a clinic in China years ago, and we're in some big city. It's got 20 million people. I don't know what, it's just huge. People everywhere. And we're going to the gym where we're going to work out with about 200 kids. And on the way, I'm looking, and there's a court in a park, and it's so full that they couldn't move. The ball is just bouncing in a big crowd. It looks like the beach ball at a concert that gets banged around. That's what it looked like. And then I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And then I look to my right, and there's a 12 or 13-year-old kid on some scooter riding somewhere. He's got a Larry Bird jersey on. China. In the middle of the, I'm like, so yeah, I mean, it's just a worldwide game now. And, so that means more eyes on. That means more sponsorship money. That means more commercial money. That means more, money for everybody. And, the one thing about the players agreement with the NBA is it's 50-50 split. You do good, we do good. And that works, man. I mean, it works. And that means the salary cap is going up and up every year. Now they put in a second apron taxes, which hurts it a little bit. But people don't understand. There's a minimum salary. If you're an NBA team, there's a minimum amount you have to at least spend. It's like $100 million for salary or whatever. So there's a minimum.
Hey Mo, speaking of China, during your days in the league, did you ever run across Yao Ming? And how tall was he?
Yeah, I mean, I was coaching the G League for the Rockets team, RGV, down in McAllen, Texas. Yeah. We would go to training camp, see him in training camp. He would come down and do an appearance once a season down there. Really good gentleman, player that got hurt his foot. He's a legitimate 7'5", probably. 7'5", probably 360 pounds, something like
My goodness.
that.
Wow. Yeah.
But I mean, Wembe's 7'7".
He's 7'7" more.
7'6", 7'7".
Now,
I mean,
next to him, you're 7'2", right?
I'm 7 foot.
7 foot. Okay.
So I played Manu Ball. He's 7'7". I coached Sean Bradley. He's 7'5". Yeah.
Wow. Big man for sure. Big man for sure. Hey Mo, let's talk a little bit about the Lakers and their situation with LeBron James. I keep hearing all this stuff. He re-upped for 52 million. Any possibility that he gets traded?
No, I don't. Actually, I was watching. I don't think anybody could trade for him. I don't think anybody has room for that. I don't think. But I mean, if you're going to trade for LeBron, you're going to have to give up. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, if I'm going to give up LeBron, you're going to give me Holmgren and Dort. You're going to give me Booker and Green. You're going to give me Kawhi and Zubac. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And he could have. I mean, his value probably is over 60 million, something like that. But he took less, so other things can happen. Because what's happening in LA right now? Let's think about this. So they have Luka, Austin Reeves, Hachimura, LeBron, Vanderbilt, Connect, Gabe Vincent. They just signed Jake Laravie from Sacramento, I think. Really good. He's a wing player that shoots it and spreads the floor. And of course they got Brownie. Remember him? They got him.
Yeah.
But this is what I think they're doing. What it looks like is they're going to go after Ayton. After his buyout in Portland, they're going to go after Ayton. So now your starting lineup is Luka, Reeves, Hachimura, LeBron, and Ayton. You can compete with any team, including the OKC. So,
What's the conversation with Ayton? Hey, dude, come in here, rebound, block shots. You will get looks because you're playing with two great passes.
Yeah, that's what, you're not going to find better passers than two bigs than Luka, and LeBron's right up there. So, if you don't, just think if you were him and you went there, you wouldn't have to take a jump shot, a post move, or a free throw, and you'd probably score 20 points on lobs. Really. So, and I'm not talking. I'm talking about that, but I'm also telling them, do you want a chance to win a championship? Do you want a chance to win a championship? You know what it was like in Portland, right? Where nobody would know who you were. You're coming to LA? Really? The Lakers, I think in the past, they've been okay, right? Kareem and Shaq and,
You're going to be on national TV every week.
Yeah, they've had some pretty good bigs there, right? So why don't you become one of them? Because guess who couldn't shoot and is in the Hall of Fame and one of the best players ever? Shaquille O'Neal could not shoot.
Right.
So why don't you be him?
Yeah. Steve points out Austin Reeves turned down an extension with the Lakers. So we'll see how that turns out.
He's going to do what he always does. He's going to bet on himself, and he's going to play out this season and see what happens next year. Yeah. Now, you pop an Achilles, you're in trouble, buddy. What did he turn down? How much did he turn down?
What was it, 80-something million?
I don't know how you turn that. that sets you up for life, your family, your kids, your grandkids. Hunter James over here, he'd be set for life. I mean, how much money do you need?
He declined a 4-year, $90 million contract
It's
extension.
almost $100 million.
I don't know what you.
I mean, I don't, you know, so what do you want? You want to get 130 million? You want to get 120? What's the difference? After taxes, you take half that out anyway. I don't understand what the point is. I remember, I don't think it might have been Spreewell back in the day in Minnesota where he turned down some extension and it really bit him in the butt. But I'm like, you know, what's the difference between 100 million and 110 million? You know, $5 million after taxes, but so what?
Hey, Mo, is it a place anywhere in this league for Chris Paul at this point in his career?
Yeah, I think if Dallas couldn't have signed DeAndre Russell, they were looking at Chris Paul. I think there's a couple other teams that need, you know, a backup guard for a little bit. You know, but there's not as many as there used to be because, you know, I think he's going to be 40 or something, I think. You know, but there is maybe a spot somewhere, but you know, I don't know where that would be right now.
Okay, I wonder.
I mean, how about Minnesota? They don't have a point guard. Mike Conley retired.
Yeah.
They don't have a point guard. So you're looking at Ant-Man, Randall, Naz Reid, Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, DiVincenzo, Alexander Walker. Okay, you don't have a point guard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Chris Paul can run with you for a year probably. Pass to those dudes.
A guy like Josh Giddey he's restricted. I'm just looking at some of these.
Yeah, well, you're talking about Josh Giddey that was in trouble a couple of years ago in OKC, remember?
Right.
With underage girl, but he was underage. You know, it's like, you know, but that puts a stigma on him. I mean, look at his numbers. I think he averaged 15, 7 rebounds and 8 assists or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, who, you know, and he's 22 years old, I think. You know?
I wonder what Chicago. Somebody asked earlier, what are the books? What are the Bulls trying to do? Woodage was asking about the Bulls, and maybe they just say, we're gonna take this year off and try to.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing Boston is doing. They're dumping salaries.
Yeah, and just you got to have guys who are going to be there. Availability is everything.
And here's what you need. Here's what you need. Yeah. But here's what you need, right? Just like in football, I just was watching someone. You have to have a really stud quarterback, right? In football, you have to, or you don't even make the playoffs. You definitely don't get to the Super Bowl, right? But salary-wise, the way you could get that guy is if you develop him young enough where he's still on his rookie contract. So now you can go sign offensive linemen to protect him or receivers to catch his passes. The same thing in basketball, in the NBA. I mean, Shea Alexander's still on his rookie contract, I think. Half their team is still on their rookie contract, making $4 or $6 million. So you can go sign. You can sign Hartenstein to $30 million. You can sign Caruso because you have those guys. But now Holmgren's coming up. They're going to re-sign. They're going to extend Shea Alexander, I think. You know, but you need to do your winning before you have to do that because it's going to hamstring you in the future. If you're paying, man, I can't remember. I think Golden State's paying their big three like $130 million. I mean, you know, where's the rest of my? You don't have money to go sign a $20 million guy. You know.
Well, it just slipped my mind out. The Knicks requested a second interview with Mike Brown for their coaching position. Any thoughts on that?
I think that would be a good signing. He's experienced. He turned the Sacramento Kings around. Yeah, remember he did it with his defense and then with his offense. He's been a champion with the Golden State Warriors. And then the Kings decided, well, we're just going to go in another direction and hire Doug Christie, who, didn't do anything for him. But Brown is, he is old school, but not, not the grumpy old man that they just had. So, but he does know what he's doing. I think that's a good move because you struck out, right? Struck out with Finch. You struck out with all these other guys because teams, Udoka, all these guys. So I think that would be a solid hiring. You've got championship rings. He did a good job in Sacramento. He rejuvenated that whole franchise, and then they went down after they fired him. So I think, Mike Malone is out there. Guys like that are who they're going to have to go after. Here's my thing is, though, if I'm Mike Brown or those guys, you're still getting paid. You're getting paid not to coach. So if I'm going to take, because whatever contract you sign, that money comes off the money the other team owes you. So you don't double dip. So if I'm going to take that risk, and you just fired a coach, the Knicks did, that got you to the Eastern Finals that you weren't even supposed to be in, and they fired him. So wait a minute. But the good news is they fired him with 3 years and $30 million left. So give me 3 or 4 or 5 million with 30 to 50 mil, and okay, let's let it roll. But if you're not going to do that, I'm not taking that job. I don't know. Mike Brown's probably making 10, 15 mil for not coaching.
But I tell you, I think he's a good coach, man, and I wonder if he's going to get another chance now. It's Nate McMillan. After what happened in Atlanta, after he set down Trae Young, and he was fired about 2 weeks later. I think he's still an assistant somewhere. I think he's a good coach.
There's a lot of good coaches out there, but your path as a coach is very difficult in the NBA, and some guys get opportunities that don't deserve them, quite frankly. And either they're successful or screwing up. Some guys that deserve jobs don't get them. I've been in that boat many a time, I think. But at some point, your trajectory of your career, it's either springboards or takes a hit. Mark Jackson did a great job in Golden State. Is a great coach. Rubbed some people wrong. Now the word on him is he's difficult to deal with in the front office, so that kind of holds him back. Same with a lot of these guys. McMillan had his chance. You had your chance, man. And now look at all the young coaches in the NBA. There's so many young coaches. OKC's coach. Now OKC's coach, he was a coach in the G League. He was an assistant for years. He worked his way up, but he's still 34 years old. So
he looks like a high school coach, coach over there. He's young.
So if your career hits the right stride, you're fine. But if you hit a wall or something, you can't break down that wall. Somebody else has to do it for you. You're screwed.
And sometimes it could be no fault of your own.
Most of the time, it's no fault of your own. Absolutely. We're going in another direction. What does that mean? If you took the Knicks to the East Finals that you weren't supposed to, and they tell you you're going in another direction, that doesn't say you didn't do a good job. If you're Brown in Sacramento, you turn the mentality around here in Sacramento. We have a new arena. You brought life there, but we're going in another direction. Mark Jackson, you turned the Golden State Warriors around. We were terrible for years and did a great job, but we're going in another direction. So it happens all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Mo, let's spend a few minutes looking back at the draft. We mentioned Cooper Flagg earlier, first pick to the Dallas Mavericks. Any other guys that stand out to you think have a chance? As we talked about many times on this show, this in the NFL draft, if you first, second, third round, you go come in and play basketball. It's not football. It's not set up like that, of course. Only 5 spots. But were there any guys that you kind of liked?
Yeah, the NBA, there's 2 rounds. 80% of the second round don't make a roster.
Right.
80%, because there's only 450 players in the NBA. And those guys aren't going anywhere. So probably 350 of them aren't going anywhere. So there's 100 jobs that are by guys that played overseas, guys that are coming in, guys that got drafted, guys that were free agents. They're all trying to get that. So, I don't know. If you look at all the NBA teams when they look at the draft, it used to be if you had a first round pick, you were getting a player. When I talk to scouts and GMs and that right now, they say after the 15th pick, it's a crapshoot. So that tells you the value of draft picks. You know what the draft picks are valued at if they're not 5 or 10 top 10 pick is assets to trade for something else. That's what they are. But Cooper Flag, obviously Dallas got so lucky, and it's going to be a career, saving their whole. After they traded Luka, everybody was down. Now they're back up, and the team that they can put together with, they just picked up Russell, and they have, AD and PJ Washington and Clay and Gafford and Christie and Lively and Grimes, and now you put Cooper Flag in there. They might be favored just below OKC in the West. I love San Antonio's pick of Dylan Harper. Really good guard, fits in perfect with what they have. They have young wings. They obviously have Wemby. Hopefully he's got over the blood clot situation that he ran into. I see footage of him in some monastery or something in China or something. I don't know what he's doing. But I like that pick. The interesting pick was Utah. They picked Ace Bailey, who told them he doesn't want to go there. So, that's going to be interesting. And you know what? I like I said, Jace Richardson to Orlando. He was picked at number 25. I like the Suns pick, Liam McNeely, the kid from UConn. That's the Suns picked up at 29. And then I like, we talked about Philly, how, they got some starters. They just need some help. Well, they picked up Johnny Braum from Arkansas, who is ready to play now. He carried the Arkansas team till he got hurt in the Final Four, and that guy could come in and play right now. So I like that pick at 35. So, there's some interesting picks there, and I think there's a handful of guys that are going to make an impact right away. And my favorite pick was Houston at number 10, where they picked up Malawach, the 7-2 player from Duke. So Houston needed a center. Well, they got him, and they signed another center. But to me, he was the steal at number 10 in the draft. I love him. 7'2", runs the floor, good hands, catches dunks on lobs, blocks shots left and right. That kid is the steal at 10. And it goes to the Rockets, where put him next to KD for a while. That'll be nice.
The scouting report on Malawach, they say 7'6" wingspan, extremely mobile, and can run end to end and moves very well laterally.
And he's tough. He competes. He plays hard. He competes. That's one thing that people forget about Wembanyama. He competes. Yeah. I watched him play. Plays hard. He competes. That's what Malawach does. I love him. If I need a center anywhere, I would have moved up to get him. Absolutely.
Hey, Mo, give us some insight on why NBA teams look at things like wingspan.
Well, because wingspan is how tall you are, right? How tall you play. So if I'm 7 foot, I'm 7 foot. But if I have, and most average people, their wingspan is equal to their height. And mine is about that. I'm 7 foot. My wingspan is 7 foot. So when I lift my hands up over my head, that's how tall I am on the court, right? That's how high I can reach without jumping. That's how high I can defend. That's just how tall I am. Mikhail was 6'11", but he had a 7'6" arm span. So that makes you taller. If my arms go up, instead of 7 foot, they're 7'6", they go up 6 inches higher to block shots, catch lobs. get rebounds. That's
So
how.
it is important.
Absolutely. If I see, you'll see guys that are guards in the league now, 6'4", 6'5", with 7-foot arm span. They have 7-foot arm span. That's huge. And and now you'll see too, because height was so misrepresented because they measured you with shoes on. Well, if you look in the draft this year, every height is measured is without shoes. And there's a reason for that. People argue, well, you play with shoes, so that's how tall you are. That's true. But if I'm measuring myself against you, Ricky, and we're measuring heights, and my shoe gives me a half-inch rubber on the bottom, and your shoe gives you an inch and a half, that's not equal measurement, even though you're measuring, but you're an inch shorter than me, really.
Gotcha.
So that's why they measure without shoes on, to compare.
Gotcha. And sometimes it goes the other way. And this guy was a really good player, played a long time. Kevin Willis was a 7-footer, but did not have long arms.
Pass me. We call, and I played with a player that's a great guy, and he's a good player too, just like that. Larry Kristoviak.
Yeah.
He had short. So we were playing Atlanta, and Larry and Kevin Willis got into a pushing match, and they squared up. And we said, yeah, Larry threw a short left, and Willis threw short right, because that's all they could throw was short lefts and
rights. Here's one. Congratulations, Will, on being a granddad. Watching We Got
Chris.
Back, playing Caveman Keno here in Arizona. Oh, wow. Thanks, Chris, for checking in.
Hey, win a jackpot and get the heck out of there, Chris.
Yeah, Mo, you got some other people checking in, sending you congrats, brother. That is a great feeling. Man, we have a packed house tonight. We've got a couple of minutes here if you got anything you want Mo to touch on, if anything on your mind about the NBA or anything sports-wise. I mean, we take on all kind of stuff here on We Got Next. Julius Randle, Mo, $100 million to stay in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think it was important for Minnesota, who, they made a run and they just came up short. I think against OKC, right?
Yeah, OKC beat them. Yeah.
So it's important because they had Naz Reid, they had Randall, now they have Mike Conley retiring. So it's important to keep that group together and try and add to it. I don't know how they're going to add to it or who they're going to add, but they were right there too. So they're one of the teams. The problem in the West is OKC, Dallas now, Houston, Phoenix has got better. They got 2 starters from Houston. It's going to be a cat fight out here in the West again, where, if you're in the East with the injuries that have gone on there. And by the way, one thing I would not do if I was an NBA player, there's a couple things that, all the Achilles injuries that are coming on. I've had 6-foot surgeries. I talked to my podiatrist, and my thought, I think we talked about this, Ricky, that, nobody wears high tops anymore and nobody tapes their ankles anymore. And I asked my podiatrist, who's done surgery on my foot, so am I crazy? Or if they wore high tops or at least taped their ankles, would that help against Achilles tendon injuries? He said, absolutely, no question, yes. So that's one of the things I don't understand why NBA players, it doesn't look cool enough. But the other thing is, if I'm in the NBA, I'm absolutely no way ever am I wearing 0. Because 3 guys popped their Achilles that wore 0. Lillard, Tatum, and Halliburton. I'm not wearing 0.
Bad news here in Detroit. We lost Schroeder is headed to the Kings. So
Yeah.
the Pistons were hoping to re-sign Schroeder and Malik Beasley this week, and both of those guys are gone now. Well, we don't know about Beasley, but Schroeder is headed to the Kings. He played very well when he got here last year. But
Yeah,
it's more. No, go ahead.
he's like a fix-all point guard, right? He's bounced around to all these teams, but he produces. I think it's the Clippers or the Lakers or whoever. He always produces. He's tough. He can score. He's not afraid of the moment. So he's kind of like everybody's flavor, right? I mean, if the Dallas Mavericks didn't get DeAndre Russell, they would have looked at Schroeder, I think, because he's that guy.
Yeah. And it's the first night of free agency too, and it looks like it's going to be a busy time. Mo, how is this different than doing your time in the league?
Well, I mean, free agency was there, but it wasn't nearly as prevalent as it is now. I mean, not only did they they get paid a lot of money, but and this is what I talk about the players agreement, right? Collective bargaining, and this is what was wanted by the players: the ability to move around, and so they have it for good or bad. Players can move around and do what's best for them. I mean, believe me, I've been traded. Teams, love you when you're there, but they'll trade you in a second if they get something better than you. So, that's a business. That's okay. But so players now have the opportunity to, I'm going to look out for myself and get the best opportunity for me, my family, financially, whatever that might be, location. Heck, I played in Cleveland, Detroit, and Milwaukee. I was tired of snow. I wish I could have played in LA or Dallas or somewhere. But, so I just think the movement wasn't as prevalent. And I think it's kind of like a psychological thing now because it's from AAU. It comes up that players move all around. Then in high school, you can transfer in high school now anytime you want. And now college with the transfer portal, it's ridiculous. So people, fans, players, coaches are all used to players moving all the time now. So it's carried over in the NBA. And movement is, I mean, you could just see today in 1 hour, 30 players moved around, which is fine.
I tell you, just going back to that Achilles thing, man. I really hope some people. I'm sure teams are looking at what can we do going forward next year. All the medical staffs of teams, and get your ankle tape. What's that? 10 minutes.
Yeah, but this doesn't feel good, and you got to get used to it. And it's no matter what they do, Ricky, it's not going to change because guess who makes the final decision? The player.
Yeah.
So actually, when I played, it was a rule. Most players played with an ankle brace or ankle taped when I played. And if you played in a game with your ankle taped, you had to practice with your ankle tape. You couldn't practice. They made you do that, because precautionary. But
consistency. Yeah.
In today's world, come on, man. Are we, we can't do it. It doesn't look. I mean, remember Rick Barry tried to show Shaq how to shoot underhand because Rick Barry shot 90% from the free throw line underhand, and Shaq said, "No, I don't want to do it. Doesn't look cool enough." Yeah, but what if you score 5 to 8 points more a game instead of 25? You're averaging 32. But no, I gotta look cool.
What Shaq left? Another 1,000 points out there in his career because of his free throws. Yeah,
because it doesn't look cool. I mean, players are going to do what looks cool because they have their persona or whatever, and that's just it. The good players are going to do, if I could shoot 90% free throws holding my left ear and then shooting sideways, and I can make 90%, I would do it. But
same thing cutting, man. If I had to do like this and it went in, hey.
Players.
Chris was asking, would you like to play in LA? But you played in California. You played in San Francisco.
I played in Golden State for my last year, but I grew up in LA, but I never played in LA as a pro. I wish.
Yeah. So
except for Golden State that 1 year.
Mo got that West Coast flavor growing up. Boy, it's been a fast hour. Mo, I think we have a record-setting crowd tonight, and we
appreciate it. Subscribe.
Yes. Well, thank you, Mo. Let me run that by here. Please subscribe. Sports Fluent is under the scroll here. Let your friends know about us. We are here every week. You can't get any better than Big Mo, Paul Mokeski, all his time in the NBA, and his insights are just fantastic. So check us out. But Mo, we got to get out of here, man. Grandpa.
Hold on.
Mo, go check on Hunter, man. Oh, my goodness.
There he is.
Oh, my goodness. That's fantastic.
So we got next week, we got continued free agency, probably more trades, and Summer League is coming right around the corner here in Vegas.
Absolutely. Well, for Paul Mokeski, I'm Ricky Hampton.
Appreciate it, everybody.
So much for tuning in. We will see you next time. Good night.
Oh, Canada.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
Nah, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.